Welcome to the gorgeous, beautiful island of Eriskay. If I was to live here, if I was to come here and live on this group of islands, the Uist Islands, it's here, Eriskay, where I'd come. I absolutely adore this place. It's just got a fantastic vibe and people are so friendly and it's steeped in history. This is where Charles Edward Stuart, betterly known as Bonnie Prince Charlie, this is where he landed in 1745 to start the Jacobite Rebellion. And then 1941, a boat carrying 260,000 bottles of whiskey ran aground just in the waters to the left of you. And the cargo was abandoned and all the locals rowed out and claimed these bottles of whiskey. It was a notorious incident in the island's history, which was immortalised in a famous book called Whiskey Galore. And it was also made into a fantastic film, black and white film, and it was then later remade in colour. But it's a brilliant film, Whiskey Galore. Try and get hold of it if you can. But yeah, this causeway was built in 2001, and before then there was a real danger that the island was becoming isolated, because although there was a 10-minute ferry shuttle across here, these waters are tidal, so the service was quite unreliable and dependent completely on the tidal systems. And because it became isolated, it was one of the last islands in this group of islands here that had a link to another island, and there was a worry that Eriskay was going to go the same way of some other islands, such as the Monarch Isles, St Kilda, and it was the last inhabited island without a link to another island, and it became really isolated. But this changed everything. This causeway changed everything for the local population. Beforehand, the population was diminishing and it was ageing. People were leaving because of poor education. The kiddies here used to have to go over to South Uist to school and stay there for the week before coming back at the weekend. There was career prospects were poor, health was poor. But this causeway changed everything when it was built just at the turn of the millennium. And the population, even though the population today is the same as what it was 20 odd years ago, it's only about 140. The demographics have changed. It's not so much of an ageing population. Because of the causeway, families are coming back and businesses are reopening. So it's great. And I would love to live here. I really would love to. It's fantastic. But anyway, that's enough of the history. Photographically, that's what we're here to do. We're here to photograph this causeway. And it is a very, very photogenic causeway because of the shape, the gentle shapes that lead us back over to South Uist. And here in the middle of the summer, we've got some lovely flowers all around us. And so it's a great opportunity to photograph this beautiful causeway. So I'm just going to walk around, look to see if we can include some of the flowers, probably try and include as much of the causeway as I can, looking out there. And for those of you who've been on my workshops before here and are due to come on my workshops in the future, you can just make out the hotel where we stay, the Polar Inn. It's that white building right on the end of that spit of land on South Uist. So it's a great location. It's a great location to stay and it's a great location to photograph. And I'm looking forward to it. So I'm just going to move around, see what I can find and see if we can get any decent photographs or half decent photographs. Let's crack on. So this is the first composition I'm going to try. As you can see, I've come a little bit lower down here. I've got a different perspective on the road, on the causeway. And I'm including some of this road that you can see in the right side of the frame. And it's leading you all the way through to the causeway. The problem I've got, the way I see it, is that there's a mound which is cutting the road off just before it reaches the causeway. I'm undecided at the moment whether that's an issue for me, to be fair. It may well be, and I may be best served going higher up and going above that mountain, that hill. But what I like about this perspective is these flowers. I've got these flowers in the foreground, and it's adding a lot of colour to the image, quite summery, because this is now the Scottish summer. So that's the trade-off. Nice flowers, but I've got that hill just cutting the road off from the causeway. It's just whether it's an issue for me. I don't know yet, I'm undecided. But I'm going to take it anyway. It's quite breezy here because we are quite high up and exposed, but I'm going to use the polarizer because it's going to bring out the greens in the water and saturate the blues. So it's going to be quite sort of holiday brochure, Scottish touristy board type of photograph, but I kind of like it. It makes a change from photographing bleak, moody locations. So polarizer's on. I'm going to try an ND filter, and then I'm going to try without an ND filter just to see what difference it makes to the water. I'm not a great fan of mushy white clouds across a blue sky, so I probably opt not to have the ND filter on, but I'll try it anyway because then I like the water that it creates. So I might blend a long exposure for the water and then a faster exposure for the sky, and then blend both the images together. But yeah, Eriskay is just unbelievably beautiful. I could live here. I really could. But anyway, let's get this shot, that's what we're here for, and see how it looks. I just love this location. I just love the way that the causeway meanders its way towards you, and then as it approaches you, it changes direction and then sweeps past you. I'm just not too sure about that mound, but it's a fantastic place to take photographs from. So I've come higher up so as to come above that mound which was frustrating me and cutting the road off from the causeway. By being here, I no longer have that issue. I've got a nice clean continuous line through the causeway taking you back to South Uist, which I like. I'm going to try and include some of these rocks here, and I've got a few flowers here which is adding a little bit of interest and a bit of colour and a bit of depth to the photograph. And I'm also, you can just see the polar harin in the far distance on the left hand side. I'm framing it so that that is included and that there's a clear separation between where the land ends and the edge of the frame. So I'm going to take it in a 65 by 24 mailbox format. So a nice clean edge on the left hand side. We've got the causeway sweeping through the image and then include a lot of this water on the right hand side. And with the polarizer, it's really accentuating and making the blues and the greens really stand out. So that's a plus. Again, I might try the ND filter, might not. But on this Fuji GFX, I've got the 20 to 35mm. I'm using it at 20mm to get as much detail in as I can in the photograph. So I'm just looking at Barra. We're going there tomorrow and I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, so it's just a nice simple photograph. Sun's behind, so it's creating some nice direct sunlight on the causeway, so that's making it pop. Again, nice, lots of blues and greens, and it's a nice photograph. It's a nice photograph in a fantastic location, and I could stay here forever. And I'm joking either. But anyway, let's get this photograph done. F16, ISO 100, very wide. I think I'm including most of these rocks down here. No need to focus stack, I'm far enough away for it all to be in focus, and even if it's soft focus, I'm not really that fussed about it. The main point of this photograph is to follow the continuous line that the causeway creates. And as long as it's nice and balanced, which it's going to be because we've got the separation on the left. So, great. Let's get this shot done and let's see how it processes.
I much prefer this perspective, where the line between the causeway joining the road remains continuous. And then you can just see the road peeping through on the right hand side. This is a much more pleasing composition for me.
What a view. What an absolutely fantastic view. Now I've had to race over here, two reasons. Firstly, the tide has just finished going out, so it's just about to turn. And I know from past experience that this tide comes in really, really quickly. So I've got to work quite quickly. The reason I've come out, second reason is the sun's going to go in fairly soon. The reason I've come out here is because of that spit of land right in the distance there. The idyllic sandy spit of land and the beautiful aqua blue water. Now I've put, this is as far out as I can go. I can't go any further without getting into trouble. And I don't want to anyway. But this, I've put the 100 to 200 mil zoom lens on this camera. And I'm getting this, you can see this bank of seaweed just in the mid-ground there. I'm getting that in the bottom of the frame just to add a little bit of depth to the photograph. It's days like this that I'm just so glad that I live in the Highlands. It's just amazing. But anyway, I've got to work quickly, so I have put a polarizer on. I should have put my sliders on, or my wellies. I've put a polarizer on just to take the glare off the water, I guess. And also I've put a 6-stop filter on just to slow the water down. I'm getting an exposure of a second, which is okay. I'm fine with that. I can't go any slower than that because I've lost my 10-stop ND filter. It's dropped off the camera. My mistake, but KASE, if you're watching, you know where I am. 82mm thread, by the way. So I'm going to grab this shot whilst I can. 65 by 24 mailbox image. Nice and simple, he says. Yeah, and it's just a nice photograph, I think, at least, you know. It's just nice to record these experiences, isn't it? You know, I don't always spend an awful lot of time in Eriskay. I'd like to spend more time. Well, actually, we're not in Eriskay, we're on South Uist now. Eriskay is the land that I'm photographing. So I've come back over the causeway, back onto South Uist, and photographing towards Eriskay. Reason being, I'm working with the sun. Okay, the sun is moving around, and for the time being, this is the best option I have at the moment. So, but as far as options are concerned, it's not a bad one, is it? Anyway, I'm going to grab the shot. It's already focused, already framed. Second, f/16. Let's see how it turns out.
I'm not going to sugarcoat this one. I'm not going to lie to you. This photograph just doesn't work, which is a shame, because when I was flying the drone over the scene just an hour earlier, it showed so much potential, so much colour and motion and interest. But I just couldn't recreate this when I was on the beach. But sometimes the experience of capturing a photograph is more important than the final product. A quite wonderful landscape, exquisite.
Okay, so we've left the sunshine that we saw earlier on at the causeway and on the beach, and the weather has changed quite drastically, and it's quite grey and overcast and quite flat. But nevertheless, we've come to my favourite location on Eriskay, and you can just see the ferry from Barra just about to come into the harbour. And I just love this photograph because of the relationship between this property here and the harbour in the distance. It just leads the eye through the photograph, and it's such a beautiful, balanced composition, and it's full of interest. In the distance there you can see Barra, the beautiful island of Barra, and it's about a 40-minute ferry journey across from Eriskay, and it's just such a gorgeous location. And there are quite a few compositions here which I've photographed in the past, and I can never really decide 100% which one is my favourite, because here we've got quite a lot of overgrowth here at the moment. Normally in the winter when I come, there's none of this overgrowth, so it's quite easy to scale a little bit further down, and I think that's probably the composition which I prefer. But nevertheless, it doesn't really matter where you stand along this platform or whether you go down here, you're going to get a great photograph, full of interest, full of depth. And I'm just going to photograph this ferry as it comes in. And after that, I'm going to explore around here. I'm probably going to go down about halfway down this hill and just reduce or change the perspective and make it a little bit different. So, although we've lost the light, I think now composition is probably more important, because we're no longer reliant or hopeful of there being any light. So it's important now that the composition is really strong, and I think it is, because we've just got this beautiful line being created by the pitch roof, taking you all the way through to the harbour and then to Barra beyond. And you can just see the ferry now just approaching. So I'm just going to grab a shot of it now. It's probably best when the ferry actually reverses into the harbour, because then you get a side-on shot of the ferry. But it's gorgeous. I love it. This, by the way, this is the beach in front, which you can see in the foreground here, is known as Charlie's Beach, and this is where supposedly Charles Edward Stuart, better known as Bonnie Prince Charlie, this is where he came ashore in 1745 at the start, or to lead, the Jacobite rebellion. But it's just such a beautiful, soothing location. I love it. So I'm just going to take a few shots of this ferry reversing into the harbour, and then after that I'm just going to walk around and take a few more shots, and once I get set up, I'll guide you through the next stage. But I'm going to go grab this shot.
What a place to live. What a view these people have looking across the Sound of Barra towards the island of Barra. Charlie's Beach in the foreground. It's a special place. And photographically, the composition is so balanced and has so much interest to it. It really is difficult to go wrong here. The house points towards the harbour. And then you've got the island of Barra in the distance. It is a wonderful scene with a beautifully balanced composition.
I've just managed to scramble halfway down this hill just in time to catch the ferry leaving. It's literally just been there for 10-15 minutes and we counted only 4 cars got on it. But you can see it now, going to make its way back over to Barra. But I've come down here. I can't bring you guys down here because it's pretty precarious down here. But I've perched myself here because I get a great perspective, a great angle of this house pointing towards the harbour and Barra beyond. It's a really, really nice balanced composition, full of depth and interest. And yeah, I think it's my favourite composition around here. But as I said earlier on, there's lots of places around here. You can't, famous last words, but you do well to take a bad photo here. But off it goes. So once it's gone, I'm going to take a few photographs of just the harbour on its own, without the ferry. And I don't know whether there's going to be any light. It's extremely unlikely now. So good composition, good strong composition. So here, there have been a few sheep running around here, but they've gone now. So the noise level is reduced. But yeah, I'm going to get as much of Charlie's Beach in on the left-hand side. And then we've got the harbour, the line of the harbour just sweeping round and pointing back towards the house, and the house is pointing back towards the harbour. So it's quite a lot of symmetry in this one, which I like. Yeah, it's beautiful. I love it. After this one, after the ferry's gone, I'll take the shot, and then I think I might just move around and take a few more and see what happens. But it's a great location. I love it. I love Eriskay. You might have gathered by now. But yeah, so just going to wait for the ferry to go, and then I'm going to take the shot just of the house, the relationship between the house and the harbour, and then we've got Barra in the distance, so should be good. Just got the polarizer on. I'm not going to smooth the water out. It's fairly smooth anyway, so there's not an awful lot of benefit of putting an ND filter on. So I'm just going to have the polarizer just take a little bit of the glare off the water surface. And that's it. It's a fairly simple shot. F16, ISO of 100, so can't go wrong. Famous last words. Anyway, I'll take the shot when the ferry's gone, and I'll put it up and see how it processes. Well, that's the end of the show. That's the end of my day passing through Eriskay. It's my favourite island of all the islands that go up to make up the Uists. And if you ever get the opportunity to come here, grab it, because you won't be disappointed, because it is beautiful. I'll be back here tomorrow morning because I'm going to catch the first ferry across to Barra and Vatisay. But I'm going to stay down here this evening because I want to take some photographs of the sea otters that populate all this water around here. And it's an amazing experience to see them catching their fish and bringing it ashore. So hopefully, fingers crossed, I get lucky. But I hope you enjoyed the programme. I hope you enjoyed the show as much as I've enjoyed being here. And if you have, please consider subscribing to this channel of mine. All your messages of support and your comments and your likes is really, really valuable and appreciated by me. So thanks ever so much. And I hope that you continue to watch and support the channel. And Next time, I will be across there photographing on the beautiful islands of Barra and Vatersay. But for now, thanks ever so much for watching. I am waffling, apologies. See you soon. Bye bye. Bye.